I'm so happy you tuned in today, and welcome back to Wellness Wednesday. My name is Dr. Linzi, and I am a naturopathic doctor right here in Iron River. And I specialize in helping people restore their life and revitalize their health. And always our little disclaimer here, anything we discuss is for the purpose of general health support, not intended to treat or cure disease. We're here to talk about overall physiology, optimize overall health, and always be sure to consult with your primary care provider before making any changes, right? So last week, we talked about an amazing patient story of how she lost 90 pounds, and even more amazing, how she overcame a huge challenge and climbed a rock wall with her daughter. So definitely check out that episode if you missed it, because I really believe it might change how you see your own journey. And you can always go to Dr. Linzi ND on YouTube and check out any of the recordings. And so today I want to talk about something incredibly important and something so many people are experiencing without fully realizing it. And this is, why does stress show up physically in our body? So many of you may have saw on Facebook, if you go to Linzi Saigh-Larsen, be sure to follow me so you can get all sorts of good information. But I shared a really interesting photo of when I received cupping and craniosacral and massage at my last appointment. And you can see on there, it looks pretty intense. It looks like I got maybe beaten up, but it is pretty intense. And there's a lot of purple you'll see on my back area, especially around my lung area. So I'm going to talk about that with you guys so you can understand what's going on there. But so the question is, so why does stress show up physically in our body? And then why do so many people feel exhausted, inflamed, stuck, anxious, emotionally drained, or carrying extra weight, or like they feel like they've lost themselves, right? And for example, why does the neck stay tight, the jaw stay clenched, the shoulders tense, the chest heavy, or maybe this feeling like you can't get a full breath? And why do people maybe have a reactive stomach, or their energy is low? You know, these are all ways our body is holding on to things. There's this great book called The Body Keeps the Score, and you can check it out. You guys, if you guys are not driving or you're at home, go to my Facebook page, Linzi Saigh-Larsen, so you guys can see the photo that I am referring to on Facebook, because it's going to give you a very good visual to what I'm talking about, of how much our body can hold on to and how much our body can keep the score, and why things like that chronic neck pain, that chronic back pain, all the things that are showing up, that you can get as many massages as you want, but it doesn't really seem to make the forward progress, or it just comes back. Sometimes people may even say, oh, there's nothing wrong, or I'm not that stressed, or oh, I let it go. But did you? Or is the body holding on to it? Because truly, the body does keep the score. Our body often stores what our mind and our spirit has tried to override: stress, grief, burnout, resentment, fear, trauma, disappointment, years of being in survival mode. And if we truly address the roots, it often shows, if we never truly address those roots, those are like the roots of the problem, it will often show up as symptoms. We have to remember that the body is not against us. The body is also often able to speak through our symptoms. Are you able to pull up the Facebook there to see it?
I was trying
to go to Facebook. Yeah, Jim usually has it pulled up there, so you can check it out. Yeah, there it is. And if you search Facebook in the upper left there, nope, down.
Oh, here.
Yep,
Okay, that's
and
what I was looking
yep,
for.
yep. Search Linzi Saigh-Larsen, Linzi. There I am. Click on that, Linzi Saigh-Larsen, and then I will come up. And if you scroll down a bit, there it is. You see it? You see that picture? It's pretty crazy, right? It looks like I got beat up, but it feels so good. And I'll explain to you about that picture so you can understand. But so the body will speak through us through symptoms. So it's really important for us to not just suppress them or think that our body is against us. Sometimes the people think that their body is failing them because they have symptoms. But many times the body is simply trying to communicate with you. Fatigue may be saying you need to slow down and take care of your nervous system. The cravings may be saying there is something deeper that is unmet, an unmet need, and you're trying to fulfill that with cravings. The weight gain may be saying your hormones and stress are out of balance and you can't keep going this way. Digestive issues may be saying your nervous system is overwhelmed, and so we need to take a minute to address that. Pain may be saying something needs attention, especially that chronic jaw, neck, shoulder, back, hip, feet pain. I had asked also on Facebook where people often notice that, and so many people notice it in their body, and they try to do things like massage, which are wonderful, but sometimes we have to add in some things like cupping, some qigong sounds, some cranial sacral type therapy to actually get the body to release it. You guys, the body is so wise. The body is innately intelligent. So the problem is most people were never taught how to listen to it, and were never taught the tools to deal with it. We're taught to just take an ibuprofen or to just suppress it and keep moving on when the body is literally screaming at you to please listen. So I want to give a little personal insight like I've been talking about here. So I recently had a powerful session. I have a lot of powerful sessions like this in this photo that you see on Facebook, where after a session of massage, cranial sacral, and cupping, you can see the intense markings on my back. So what stood out to me was how much release happened, but especially when you look at this photo, you see it in the lung area. And you're like, the lung, I wouldn't think of the lungs as somewhere that you hold, tension or different things. Well, in Chinese medicine, the lung is connected to sadness, sorrow, and grief. And I'll tell you what, guys, that really landed. For 2 years, I dealt with a lot of grief and loss. And where does that go? We may think we've moved on, or did the body hold on to it? Did we ever really release it? And so I'm going to explain this to you guys in a minute about the Qigong and how that works. But I want you to understand that so many people are carrying grief that they never had time to process, and they just had to get on with life and keep moving on, or losses or stress or disappointment or heartbreak or years of pressure. And they're trying to solve it through calories, cardio, willpower, the perfect peptide stack that is all the rage. But you guys want to know what? The body knows better, because your body is keeping the score. And so when I do something like the total health restoration that you guys hear me talk about a lot on here with so many clients, this is exactly why when people come into the total health restoration program, it's not just a GLP-1, it's not just weight loss, it's not let's just make the scale move and hope for the best, because all that is renting time, you guys. That's temporary. That's surface level. When we are looking at something like the total health restoration, or the way we need to look at our health, is truly transforming our body, mind, and spirit, so someone can literally become the best versions of themselves. Not just rent some time on a scale, and then as soon as you stop doing what you're doing, it's just all going to come back. So yes, we may use tools to help with the blood sugar, the cravings, the insulin resistance, the inflammation, the appetite signaling. And yes, we may use advanced tools like GLP-1s for support, but you guys, that is only one piece. Because if someone loses the weight but keeps the same stress patterns, the same emotional wounds, the same nervous system dysregulation, the same self-sabotage, the same exhaustion, they are still trapped. Their body is still trapped and keeping that score. They have rented the time and rented that weight loss that they're so desperately trying to achieve. We don't just want a smaller body. We want a freer life, and we want to have true healing. So what does root cause healing actually look like? That is working on, yes, blood sugar balance, hormones, inflammation, gut health, sleep, nervous system regulation, mindset, emotional patterns, daily habits, and identity shifts. Those identity shifts are key, because true healing asks, what is preventing you from being your best self? Not just, how do we get pounds off quickly? That's never going to be your solution, you guys. So a tool that I often teach patients that refers to this picture that you see on Facebook here is Qigong healing sounds. So this is a beautiful tool that I teach patients and clients, because it truly helps the body release stored emotions. Okay? It doesn't make the emotions magically go away, but it helps you release them from the body. So this is an ancient practice that combines breath, sound, movement, and intention to help release stored tension and stored emotions and regulate the body. And so the thing is like I talked about, the lungs being connected with sadness, sorrow, and grief. So in Chinese medicine, they believe different sets of emotions are connected to and stored in the associated organs. So for example, sadness, sorrow, and grief, when experienced in excess, gets stored in the lungs. And over time, that can create dis-ease. Not necessarily disease, although it could lead to disease, but a dis-ease in the body, and things get stuck and stagnant and they stop moving. That's where you can start to get things like anxiety, difficulty breathing, your chest feels so tight, because all of that is being stored in the lung area. And so they found that when you did different sounds, because you guys, this is not some hippy dippy weirdness, they figured it out. And even Einstein said, if you want to know the secret of the universe, it comes down to frequency. So when you are making that Qigong healing sound, you are literally forming a frequency that purges that excess emotion from the body. Now, some of you, this might be a little over your head, or you might be like, what craziness is Dr. Linzi talking about? And even my husband, sometimes when I'm using different tools, he'd be like, oh boy, what are you doing now? Walking around the house making these weird sounds. And it was pretty funny because when I first learned this in school, I was doing the sounds, and one night, and he's like, oh my gosh, what are you doing now? And he was laughing at me and making fun of me kind-heartedly, but he totally was making fun of me. And then a couple months had passed, and sometimes I forget my own tools, right? And he was like, hey, what was that stuff you were doing with the sounds and the whatever? And I'm like, why? He's like, well, I think it was helping you, and you seemed in a little bit better mood. So he was pretty much telling me I needed to start doing it again because he noticed a difference. So these things aren't just some woo-woo weirdness. It truly helps your body release. And so why do I love the Qigong healing sounds? Because healing is not always about doing more. Sometimes it's about releasing more, allowing the body to actually release. So these sounds help calm the nervous system, move stagnant energy. They encourage deepening your breath, and help emotions literally move out of your body. So I'm going to do an example for you guys, okay? Don't think it's some weirdness. You would be surprised. So the lung example, right? So the emotion of the lung is the sadness, sorrow, and grief. Now that's what in Chinese medicine we call the acquired emotion. You acquired that through the experiences of life. We also have the congenital emotion, which is the positive emotion of the lung. So the positive emotion of the lung is integrity, dignity, and self-esteem. So what we want to do is we want to breathe in the integrity, dignity, and self-esteem, and breathe out any sadness, sorrow, or grief. And then we breathe in and we breathe out the sound. So what is the sound? So the sound of the lung is literally just S, 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 S. And so I'm gonna do an example for you right now. So I'm gonna breathe, take a deep breath in, and breathe in that integrity, dignity, self-esteem. Breathe out any sadness, sorrow, grief. Breathe in. Super simple, right? And so you could do that 1 time, 5 times, 10 times, as many times until you notice an energetic shift. And usually you will feel much better. So there was a time when I was going through all of that sadness, sorrow, and grief, and I just couldn't sleep. I would get these racing thoughts at night, and I couldn't. And I would go ahead and just do the Qigong healing sound of the lung, and I would drift right into sleep and sleep like a baby. So it's not, this is a big deal, you guys. It truly is a tool that can help. I remember my lovely nephew, this was when he was quite young, and kids have a harder time with the lovely placebo effect, right? Well, he had significant ADD, and I would pick him up from school, and he would have a hard time focusing to do his homework. So I taught him the Qigong sound of the heart, because the acquired emotion for the heart is overexcitement, agitation, and nervousness. Hello, ADD. He was so wound up he couldn't focus on his schoolwork, right? Well, the congenital emotion is order, peace, tranquility, and love. So I would have him breathe in that order, peace, tranquility, and love, and breathe out the agitation, the overexcitement, and the nervousness, and then do the sound. And he would do that, and he would be able to focus for a good 30 minutes to an hour to do his homework. Another great example is my niece, who was worrying so much about her sister because her sister was having some problems. And she was probably, I don't know, 6 or 7 at the time. And so she was really worrying, right? Well, the emotion of worry, remorse, and regret, and it doesn't have to be all of them, it could just be focusing on one, but the worry was significant. Well, that's the emotion of the spleen. And so I taught her the Qigong healing sound of the spleen. So the acquired emotion is that worry, remorse, regret, right? Well, the congenital emotion is trust and openness. So she would breathe in that trust and openness, breathe out any of that worry, remorse, regret. She was dealing with these horrible stomach aches because in Chinese medicine, the spleen is a little bit different than in Western medicine. In Chinese medicine, it's in charge of our hormones, but also our digestion, a lot to do with our spleen. So her stomach aches went away within a day of her starting these qigong sounds. So that's what I'm telling you guys. It's not some hippy dippy woo woo shenanigans. It's real. And when your body is able to release those emotions, you're able to start to heal better, and your body can do what it was designed to do. So is it simple? Yes. Is it powerful? Yes. Super powerful. And so the breath and the sound, that frequency affects the nervous system because we are energy, we are frequency, and we can work with our when we can work with our body and release those things, the body has the opportunity to do it. Another great one, which is my favorite because I tend towards frustration, anger, things like that, just be totally honest. Well, guess what? That's the emotion of the liver. So the congenital emotion, the positive one, is kindness, compassion, and benevolence. And that's not just to other people, that's to ourselves. And so many people I notice of my patients and clients, they're so hard on themselves and they're not kind to themselves. So we have to allow that kindness in, and we have to breathe out any anger, rage, jealousy, or frustration and do that sound. And we can purge that from our liver where it will get stored. So, and really amazing how people's headaches and tension and different symptoms can just start to resolve as we release that emotion, those emotions. So why do people stay stuck? Many people are trying to out diet the nervous system problem. They're trying to out exercise emotional exhaustion. They're trying to use discipline where healing is actually needed. And that's why people will often say they feel like failures, but they're not failures. They just haven't been given complete solutions to their problem. And so what transformation really means. So when we look at transforming, that means that when you are transforming your health, you are not just losing weight when somebody takes a GLP-1. You are waking up with energy. You are learning to trust yourself in your body. You feel peace around food, not like this stressful thing. You start to regulate stress differently, and you breathe deeper, you move more naturally, you stop punishing yourself, and you become someone who honors their health. And so that is the real win, you guys. The weight loss is wonderful. I look at that as a positive side effect, but it's not the deepest reward. So if you feel stuck right now, please hear this. You may not need more punishment. You may not need the cheapest GLP-1 you can find online. You may need support. You may need guidance. You may need a system. You may need someone to help you uncover what's underneath the symptoms and why your body is communicating those with you. Because what often looks like laziness is burnout. What often looks like a lack of willpower is just dysregulation. And what can feel like failure is just unhealed stress. And so today I want you to remember that your body is not against you. It has been carrying what you haven't yet healed. And when you finally listen, everything begins to change. So this is why I do what I do, not to help people just lose weight, but to truly help them reclaim themselves and their lives and to promote that healing. I want you to know that you are not broken. You simply are needing a deeper level of healing, not just taking a GLP-1 or the next best stack of supplements or this or that. Our body is just craving for those layers of that onion to be peeled away so that we can actually start healing. And so that is what is really beautiful about this. And having somebody in your corner who can teach you things like the Qigong healing sounds and the different tools to actually peel those layers of the onion away and promote that healing process is so important. And yes, we can use the tools that can help, but we have to address those deeper layers of healing so you're not just renting time or renting the weight loss, and then when you stop, everything comes back because all you did was take an injection. It's about so much more than that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it certainly does. Yeah, when you were talking about root cause analysis, I mean that's beautiful. I think a lot of doctors go after the symptom, not the root cause.
Yes.
And even when I was and this is applicable to other areas of life, when I was a sales engineer for 38 years,
Mm-hmm.
I went out and troubleshot the shooting of not people, but machinery.
Yes.
And what we looked for was the root cause of why it was failing.
Otherwise, if you just put some tape on it or a little oil here or something over here and you didn't find what was actually causing the issue, it's just going to fail again, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is very applicable to that. That's a great analogy. Like, we have to get to where the actual dysfunction is. And for so many, it comes down to the spiritual, mental, emotional component that starts that dysregulation, or like I mentioned, that dis-ease, not necessarily disease yet. Although over time, if you don't address it, it can lead to disease, but a dis-ease, an imbalance in the body that starts from that mental, emotional, spiritual component that's never addressed, just pushed down or medications taken to suppress it. And all of a sudden, the body is innately wise. It's going to give you new symptoms. If you don't address that one symptom and you just try to push it down or cover it up, within a certain amount of time, another symptom's going to pop up, and then you try to push that one down, and then this one pops up. Your body's like, hey, you're not listening to me. So we have to address that to promote true healing. And I'm not against using tools to help us, but we have to use the tools while addressing those deeper concerns for lasting results and to truly transform your life and change your life, not just rent some time. And people often think they're saving money by finding these cheapest peptides online that are all the rage right now, and they're not saving money, because they're going to have to keep taking them for months and months and months and not be able to stop, because as soon as they stop, the weight's going to come back on. So did you really save money? Or if you would have invested in changing and transforming your life from the beginning, you wouldn't need the tool forever, because you actually changed from within. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
Another thing you talked about frequency. Well, when we analyze machinery, we use frequency. You can tell if the bearings are bad, the hydraulics are bad.
Oh
So, I
my
mean,
gosh.
you talk about Einstein.
Yeah, it's everywhere. It's everything.
Yes.
It's absolutely. So yes, so when you're forming that sound with your mouth, even though it seems a little weird, and at first it's like, what am I doing? Or, a lot of patients are like, oh, what is Dr. Linzi having me do today? But then when you feel the difference, you can't deny that. And everything is energy, and that's not some woo-woo. And I'm a Christian. That's not anti-Christian. Like, God is energy and frequency. He has given us different herbs and different things and tools and different ways to understand our body, so we can promote healing and work with our innate ability to heal. And that is, I feel, part of God and his healing, to utilize those things that are meant for us to heal, not just go use some drugs, and so I think that that's a beautiful part to include in our healing.
Yeah. I mean, God created science and everything else. So, I mean, it's
all part of it.
It's all part. I was going to show you one thing, the breathing exercise. I like what you're talking about there. When I was in martial arts, we would do a similar thing where you
oh yeah. You draw in the energy.
Yeah, and you open up your lungs.
Yes. Beautiful. Well, and one thing I didn't mention with the Qigong, because that's for martial arts, that's all connected, right? In the Chinese medicine, is that they do have movements you can do with the sounds.
Oh, okay.
So like if you were doing the lung one, there is a movement like that with the Qigong, where you do the Qigong movement with the sound. It's just sometimes it's a little overwhelming for patients. I could give them all sorts of information, and sometimes when it's too much information, people get overwhelmed. So I start with the sound, and then once they master that and they've been doing that, you can simply just YouTube, or Google, what's the Qigong movement that goes with the lung? And there's a bunch of different variations, but they very much resemble like martial arts type movements, because it's all connected of harnessing that energy. So that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. I love that. But yes, I want to thank everybody for tuning in today, and I hope today's episode really encouraged you to explore new ways to support your healing and help remind you that healing is possible. And I encourage you guys to make creating the conditions for health a priority, and to keep supporting that incredible body of yours. And I want to encourage you to trust your body, to trust nature, to trust the incredible wisdom that God has built into our design. So if you guys are ready for that transformation, you guys know you can always reach out to me. You can call or text 906-829-0500. You can also email info@drlinzi.com. That's info@drlinzi.com. You can also visit the website, drlinzi.com, and there's a way to communicate there as well. And so that's drlinzi.com. And I just encourage you guys, to reach out and you're not meant to do this alone. And it's helpful to have people who have not only learned about this and understand the physiology and the body mind spirit connection, but also have used it in their own healing journey. It's been a long time. I was in rough shape, and I have used these things. I'm not just throwing it out there for whatever sticks. I've used these things in my own healing journey and seen it work in patients. And so you know that it is something that is truly going to make a difference in your life, right?
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Linzi,
Yes.
for showing us how to be the best version of ourselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Happy Wellness Wednesday.
All right. Have a good one.